Thank you to the Minnesota State Arts Board, the Southwest Minnesota Arts Council, the Rummick Foundation, the Walnut Grove Area Foundation, and many of you for your financial support and encouragement. Check out the new updated mobile website at walnutgrove.org for tickets, events, updates, and gift items. I'm your host, William Richards, and tonight you'll hear from many of the former cast members who played Laura and Mary, as well as many other parts. You can also check out our Facebook page and YouTube channel for updates on several efforts we've begun to update and expand the story of Laura Ingalls. Use your phone on the QR code to get to a survey to tell us how we're doing. The YouTube channel has 3 short scenes read by cast members for your reactions. With summer approaching, tryouts for the summer production of Fragments of a Dream will begin either online on March 20th or also in person on April 1st and 2nd. It's important to take a moment to remember author James Merchant, who wrote the original 1978 script for the Fragments of a Dream production. Many have taken his words and made them into inspiration and entertainment for over 300,000 people worldwide. And tonight at 8 o'clock, tune in to Sarah Utoff's celebration of Laura Ingalls Wilder's birthday with episode 127 on Blog Talk Radio. And all former cast and crew are invited to our 45th anniversary celebration on Saturday, July 9th. Check out walnutgrove.org or the Facebook page for your free t-shirt and meal with purchase of a ticket for the show. Good evening and welcome to this little bit of a birthday show. And Aaron, they've seen enough of me. They know who I am. I'm Bill. And you can go back to everybody to see all the wonderful people that are with us today. And we're going to take a little bit of time then to look at each of these individuals. They're going to say who they are. If you don't recognize them, I mean, they look like just when they played Laura or Mary. But then we'll go around and then they'll say one little thing maybe that they remember quickly. And then after we've gone through everybody, we'll come back and take a little more time in small groups so they can visit in a little bit more time.
I'm Taryn Lessman. I was Mary in 2019.
Hi, I'm Messina Lessman. I was Laura just last year.
Jody, and I was Laura and Mary for a couple of years when I was much younger than I am now.
Yep, so I'm Lynnea, currently in Alaska. I was Laura in 2009 and Mary in 2014 and 2015.
I'm Anna. I played all of the Ingalls sisters, but I think I played either Laura or Mary about 10 years ago now, which is kind of crazy.
Okay, Christina, we don't hear anybody eating in the background.
Not today. That's good. All right. So I am Christina, and I was Laura back 20 years ago for the 25th anniversary. And so that is awesome. So that's me.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I was Laura in 2005. I don't want to do the math on how many years ago that was. It was very brave of you, Christina. I like, my favorite hobby is going vintage antiquing. That's a little bit about me.
My name is Katie. I was Laura in 2006 and Mary in 2007. And what am I all about? I don't really think anything too exciting, but I do live in Maple Grove, so I went from one grove to another.
Hi, Heather.
It was a good time. I love that you brought that up because my little sister was in the pageant with me. And those years, we'll talk about this later, but when Nikki Buckles was Laura, and I was Mary, my little sister and Nikki were best friends. And then Kelsey Britta was also in the pageant at that time. We forged so many friendships. Like that summer, I remember they came to our cabin with us. And some very, very strong friendships were forged that summer. So I would say out of everything I got out of it, it would be the friendships that I walked away out of that were pretty amazing.
All right. Well, we're going to find out if that's true because Nicole is up next, and so we'll see if she has the same story you
If
do.
she'll return the feelings.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
for
let's see.
sure, for sure, for sure. And we get the fortunate part to get to see each other every now and then. Heather is a teacher in our school district, and her sister works in the school district, and Shalayna works in our school district. So that's kind of fun to see everybody and keep in touch. So
Good, good.
yep.
Okay.
I played Laura for 4 years. I think it was 88 to 91. And some of my best memories were on that pageant site every summer for those. I was in the pageant for 5 years, but the 4 years playing Laura, they were just some really good memories. And Heather's right, there were a lot of friendships and a lot of things that we forged and lots of memories and a lot of growing up at the same time.
Yes.
We're going to move on to one of the people who was in the very first show. And she was so cute. And she has the same smile because we have a picture of the three sisters there up for people to look at. Hi, Lachelle.
Hi there. So I'm Lachelle. Originally Geezy was my maiden name. And I was Carrie the first year back in the gymnasium. And then I believe I was Laura in 82 or 81, somewhere in there.
82.
And I joined the first year with my dad. And my dad and I were in it for, I think I was in it 6 or 7 years. And then my dad continued to be in it after I went to college or wherever it was.
Yeah.
And
8 seasons.
So yeah, so one of my coolest things is I always say my dad made the fire.
Hi everyone. Just a note, Bill, there's no audio on Facebook right now, they're saying.
Really?
No.
That's wrong.
Yeah. But that's what they're on there saying. So
Yeah.
I'm
Can you hear it?
I'm the director of the Laura Ingalls Wilder Museum here in Walnut Grove, sitting in the gift store, as you can see.
Okay, that's great. Okay, Shalayna, hi. And you're in your classroom, aren't you?
Yeah. My name is Shalayna, and I'm fortunate that I got to grow up on Plum Creek, just like Laura and Mary. And I still get to raise my kids there. We still live in the area. I played Mary in 1992. And so in my classroom, I get the benefit of, I'm not in the pageant today, but I read my kids the book. And since we're in the area, we get to go see the dugout site in the museum every year. And kids absolutely today love the adventures just the same as back when I was a kid.
And if you have comments, we do have our email. You can send stuff to us, and we'd appreciate that. All right. Well, ladies, some of you know each other a little bit, but you've changed a wee bit, I think, since you've grown up, right? I mean, you have grown up some, but you're still children at heart because you're a lot younger than I am. So if I was going to ask you, what are you doing now? Would you share that with the other people?
I am. I'll start because I'm the oldest out of all of you guys. I am living in the area still. You can hear my dog and my son playing in the background. Sorry. I am a court reporter in Redwood Falls. And fun fact about me is I'm 5'2" and I have 2 children who are both almost a foot taller than me.
Ooh.
And I do know all the girls on here, right? Yes, I do.
I'm Anna. I am currently in college right now. I'm up in Fargo, and I'm going to Concordia College. I'm studying environmental science and biology with the hopes of becoming an environmental lawyer. But I graduated from high school a couple of years ago, and I did theater all 4 years and in middle school. And I think the pageant really started that passion in me. So, yeah.
I'm Lynnea again. I went to college at Crown in Minnesota, and then I was also in the National Guard for 6 years. I just ended that like last week, so that was a journey. I'm in Alaska now, and I am currently a long-term sub at a school teaching language arts.
Yep. All right. Well, now between you ladies, do you remember anything that you want to share about working with any of the other ladies?
Well, Bill, it's a tough one. I'm getting old.
Yeah, well, that's true. How about this? What is your favorite line from the show? Start up with the Lessmans because they're more recent. They have a better memory than the rest of you do. Do you have a favorite line?
My favorite line is probably when they're in the schoolyard scene, the girls are up front and they call Nellie a prairie chicken. And they all I don't necessarily have a favorite line, but my favorite scene is town council, and I'm very upset that I can't be on the town council. So that's always disappointing, but I like watching it.
I loved the cow and petting the cow and the Rita Roses and the horses at the epilogue never failing to, on at least one show, peeing and no one can laugh.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a favorite line, but I definitely have a favorite scene, which I think it was the party down by the creek with the leeches. That's definitely a top one.
All right. Now you have started thinking. I'm going to ask you to think even deeper for just a minute, then I'll let you escape for a while. And that is, if you were going to add a new scene to the show, what would it be about? What would you want to see in the show that isn't there that you think should be there?
Christmas at the Ingalls home.
In the winter, in the blizzard?
Yes.
We have to have snow then.
I'm okay with that.
Can we bring that from Alaska? Maybe we can maybe do that.
Yeah, Lynnea.
We'll just shut them down. Yeah.
Anybody else have a thought about what might be a scene that you think we should have in the show that we don't?
Is it wrong to promote the one that I wrote?
Yes.
Say that?
Yeah, you should promote that. That's good. Tell us about it. Tell us about that scene.
So it's basically Laura and Mary on a walk, and Laura is telling Mary about all the sights and deciding that she's actually pretty good at storytelling and maybe she could be an author.
Okay.
I think we should have a whole scene about Nellie and Laura just fighting. And Mary trying to make them stop fighting and forgive each other, but she doesn't.
Yeah. Because this is the 45th anniversary of the show, which means over 300,000 people have seen the show, the museum, and people are seeing it right now, has begun to work on an exhibit. And Rick, you want to zoom in on a few things? We have some old things there. We have some shirts from the original Margaret Olson, Shirley Nachmus, right? And we've got posters back from the 80s. Now, what's interesting is that there's a lot of pictures that don't exist anymore. Both the Headlight Herald and also the Sentinel Tribune had either water damage or they both had water damage. Headlight had flood in their basement, and the other place had a fire next door, and they got water damage, so they lost a lot of images. So anybody who has images, we're always excited. There are a few years we have nothing except the booklet, and those images are okay, but what I'm showing them right now, there's the first jacket that we wore, and it was red with white lettering on it because we figured people needed to know who we were in case they had a problem. So let's start in my upper left corner. Christina, tell us a little more about you and what you're up to, and then we'll kind of go to Hannah and then Katie. Okay?
Okay, dokie. All right, so I ended up getting my bachelor's degree in communications from the University of Minnesota Duluth. Moved down to Florida, got married, and then moved to Georgia and decided I wanted to be a librarian. So I started my master's degree. I finished that this fall. And the biggest news is that I just gave birth to our firstborn son. And then last Thursday, I evicted my gallbladder. So I've had a lot of things going on recently.
I can go. So I'm in Madison, Wisconsin now. I like moved kind of far away. I went to the UW of Madison. I studied creative writing. Not really using that, but it was a pretty cool, thing to learn in college. I'm currently working in the medical field. I work for Exact Sciences. We do cancer testing. And any minute I'm not working, I'm going to concerts and music festivals. I've been to 21 music festivals so far.
All right. So right now I'm living in the Twin Cities area. I went to St. Catherine University in St. Paul, graduated in 2015, international business and economics. And right now I work at the Minneapolis Grain Exchange. It's a commodity exchange for hard red spring wheat, doing stats, research, new business development there. And kind of like Christina, got married, and 6 months ago I had also my firstborn son Matthew. So it's going okay. New parent thing is tough, but it's super fun too. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah. So are you going to be a world traveler now with your international economics thingy there? You have to take the kid with you to France and China and everywhere as you go all over the place?
Yeah, you know what? Once COVID clears up, I'm gonna like hitch that kid up on a carrier on my back, and we're just gonna go everywhere, or try to, as long as he doesn't cry too much on the plane. So
Yes, that should be a lot of fun. I think that'd be a great time. Let's see. Let's
Bill?
go back. Go ahead.
They can't hear you on Facebook again.
They can't. I wonder why. We're on. Are we not live? Or can you just see us? We're taking a technical issue moment here.
I can hear it.
You can hear it?
Yep.
That might be them, Aaron, because I'm obnoxiously loud, according to Rick. So, world traveler, what are you gonna do with your little one? Anybody gonna launch him into space, or what are you gonna do?
yeah, I don't know if I would like do that, but I'm hoping to. Might be a little bit premature. If he wants to be an astronaut later, I'll totally support that. But to be honest, I'm hoping that I can kind of plan. You know, my mom and dad used to do the sound, and my sister, who's not on this, also played Laura, and my brother was in the pageant as well. And I'm just kind of hoping I can share that experience with him and bring him to see the pageant, because I went when I was little, then I was in it, and it's just such a good story, and such a cool piece of history, and it's fun to see it come alive. So I'm hoping to share that with him when he's a little bit older. So
okay. So I'm going back to, like I asked the other ladies, what's your favorite scene? Do you have a favorite scene that you were in or that you observed when you were doing the show? So let's start with Hannah. What did you have as a favorite scene or one of the favorite scenes?
I guess I would probably say the basket socials, because the days that we got to eat the actual food were like the best days. So that was that was really fun. Also, when I played Nellie in 2007, and any scene that I got to interact with the dog was a great time. Highly recommend.
Okay, Christine, what did you have? Anything particular?
I remember the dancing. And so I remember specifically that I danced with Spencer Knott, who was in my class. And I just remember having a hoot of a time doing that. That was the best, when I was Laura, at least.
Yeah.
There were many, I was in it for many other years too.
It's been suggested that during the distance between Act 1 and Act 2 that we have a square dance caller out and bring people from the audience and see if we can get them to square dance with us. That could be fun, or dangerous, or both. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. All right. Katie, what about you? Any favorite scene there that comes to your mind?
yeah, I'll probably just echo Christina. I liked doing the dancing. It was fun to learn, and it was fun to perform, and it was fun to watch the adults do theirs too. I think the crowd really liked that part of the production too, and it was a lot of fun. So.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. I think it was indeed a good part of it. How about one last thing? Favorite line? Do you have a favorite line from the show? Can you remember that far back? You've got all kinds of things that have
Bill,
come into your
I
life.
said this was 20 years ago. Come on, man.
Oh, come on.
I'd probably have to say just one of the iconic, like Nellie Olson, one of these days. It's just fun to say, and it's one of her pretty iconic lines. So,
Yeah.
You know, when you are going to be talking, you are representing 20 years of Kelsey family in this show.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I mean, I know. I have really good memories of being in the pageant. And so, yeah, when you contacted me, I thought, oh yeah, I would love to do that. I have very good memories. It was a very fun experience.
So you've had pretty much the whole range of characters.
I did. I'll have to say Nellie was my most favorite to play, of course, just because she's, a little bit more outlandish. And so it was really fun to play Nellie. I liked playing Mary as well. It was a good experience as far as acting. I felt like, there were some very emotional parts with the Mary role. And so that, I learned how to, be in that emotional state on stage. And so that was a challenge, a challenging role. I would say a little bit more challenging role to play. And Nellie was a little bit more fun. I have to admit, after, I was, let's see, I must have been, was it 14 or 15 when I was the teacher, Miss Beadle. At that point, it wasn't as fun for me to have an adult role. And so after that, I was like, it's not as fun, to play an adult as a kid. I guess there's probably some similarities in real life to that. But with the help that I got with the pageant and the experience, I guess I should say, with the pageant, it kind of helped with my public speaking. As you can imagine, sometimes people with a more programming type of brain have a hard time standing up and saying what they want to say. And, you kind of get grilled with questions from other programmers. And so you kind of have to be on your toes at the same time and know how to speak. But a lot of times when I would speak, I would kind of write out what I was going to speak and, memorize it just to make sure that I would say what I wanted to say in a succinct way. And so everything that I learned with being in the pageant really has helped with my public speaking and that too. So in kind of a nerdy way, it has helped me. I've been told that it's kind of a hard to find skill set, somebody that knows a lot about this programming language and somebody that can do public speaking as well. So I attribute some of that to being in the pageant. I actually got a degree in statistics. And so since college, I've been a data analyst using this programming language. I loved my stats classes, but I also really was involved in dance and, like I said, on the dance team, and we traveled and I really liked, performing with them. And so I was considering a degree in dance. But I actually got some advice from my mom that I took, and, she said, the life of a dancer really, your body wears out. You really have about 30 good years for so she said, if you love statistics, maybe you should go that way and kind of do dance on the side, which I have done. I every once in a while will teach dance now, so that kind of fulfills that side too, that creative side. Bill, you were the director, and I was supposed to get a fake worm and scream. I think I was Nellie. I must have been Nellie at the time. And the person playing Willie gave me a real worm, and my scream or something was different. You knew that he did that because you came back, like this was during a performance. You had never done this before. And you came backstage and I would say, you were stern, but you never like yelled, but you very sternly told him to never do that again. You never do something you do not do in practice or rehearsal. So, that really stuck out in my mind. Like, there was some back and forth with people backstage, like having fun and stuff, but which, you were always okay with, except for do not bring it on stage. And so that was a case of, pretty quick.
All right. Well, I'll ask some of the others if they've got some of those memories that now can surface.
Well, I have to say, I didn't start my entrance into this at Mary and Laura. I started at Patricia Kennedy. And earlier there was a conversation. I got to trip Nellie in the playground. We had a scene. I know the scenes have changed over the years, but I was very, very, very proud of that scene. I got to trip Nellie in the playground. That was how I started. And then I was Nora, sorry, that's my daughter. Then I was Laura for a year. And then I was Mary for 2 years. And Mary was hands down my favorite. Probably because I had gotten used to what it took to be in the pageant. It was a lot of work. I mean, we start in the spring and we go all summer, and then it's 4 weeks. It used to be 4 weekends in July, and it was a commitment, but oh man, was it worth it. God, we had so much fun. And just in this break, we were just talking about some of the relationships and how, like, Amy Foster, I used to think that she was so hilarious. I wanted to be in all of the scenes that she was in. Or now, like, I'm a teacher now in Tracy High School, so it's just right next door to Walnut Grove, which, P.S., I used to work in different states. I've had some different lives, but every state I worked in, whenever someone said, "Where are you from?" I couldn't say Tracy, Minnesota. Nobody even knew where Sioux Falls was, to be honest with you. But if I said I grew up 8 miles from Walnut Grove, that meant something. So that was kind of a big piece of me there too. And then I come back to Tracy, and now I'm a teacher, and even more fun. Okay, so Laura, right underneath me, who's going to tell a whole lot too. She is now on my school board. I'm a teacher and she's on the school board, and her son's in my biology class. He's a great kid. And then also Ma, back in the day when I was Laura, she is now a sub in my school. And I have to tell you that when you practice, this production, I know, like, it's crazy to hear someone talk about it being in a gym. I didn't know those days. I knew the days when we were on a hillside and you had a lot of people coming to watch what you did. And when I watched Deb Keel play Ma, I thought she was possibly the coolest person in the world, and I wanted to be just like her. And those summer nights where we sat and we practiced and we worked hard, and they were long hours, or even just little things like when we'd have that, so someone was bringing up the social scene where we'd have the picnic baskets, and some people would sneak real food into the picnic baskets, and we'd actually get to eat during the scenes. We thought we were sneaky, and that was so much fun. And I'm so excited to talk about this because those years were so much fun for me. I had so much fun being in that pageant and playing all those parts and meeting all those friends. Great experience.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And now I hope that whatever you said does not offend the school board member below you, because I'm gonna give her an opportunity to speak. So if Nicole, if you want to say a few things, I've got a slide up for people to see that you started out as Sandy Kennedy, and then 4 years, the longest Laura running, by the way, and you look the same. So yeah.
I've aged a little bit, maybe not much, but just a little. thank
Hair
you for
color
that.
is all, just a little hair color.
I have, as we kind of started preparing for this, I had more and more memories kind of just start surfacing, and I was thinking, I'm like, gosh, I should write some of this down because I don't even remember a lot of it. And I think it's important, maybe someday my kids will kind of want to know about it. But I started, so Heather and I started as sisters throughout the entire production. So we were both a Kennedy sister. Heather was Patricia and I was Sandy. I had like 2 or 3 lines that first year, and I was so excited. And I remember being in the house, and I got to run up the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
And
I remember that
in that little box, and then come back down the stairs. And of course, Al Farber was Mr. Kennedy, and I think he lifted me up, and so it was just kind of fun. I remember that for my first year, and then the next few years as Laura. Heather and I and Amy were talking earlier, and Heather and I kind of had a unique situation where we had some dynamics there that just worked. We've known each other previous to being in the pageant, and so we had a lot of good times and a lot of good memories. I had a couple different. I had Jesse James as Pa, and then Errol Stefan as Pa as well. And then I had 2 Ma's, I think, which was Deb Keel and then Beth Cleven. As far as I can remember. I think some of my favorite scenes, I remember the grasshopper scene where they shot the little oyster crackers out of the thing over the dugout. And I remember one other time, they left the crackers open and they were doing something else, and I think a couple of us kids found the extra bag of crackers, and I think we got in a little bit of trouble because we ate the grasshoppers.
we got in trouble in those days. That's no lie. That was, do you remember there were hairdressers that liked us and hairdressers that didn't?
Yes.
So secret, Bill, I'm going to tell you, I had an underground braiding corner where girls that didn't want to get their hair braided by the adults would come, and I would braid their hair before the show over in like a secret part of the stage, be backstage.
The statute of limitations has run out, so I guess you're okay. Some of the other things, I'm sure, there is no statute of limitations, but, well, we won't hear about that. So, well, ladies, any you kind of mentioned a little bit, but favorite scenes or favorite lines that come to you, or what would you like to see now that you think about? Oh, we should have done this.
I think my favorite line is still, I don't know if it's still in the show or not, but when the leech is seen at the creek, and Heather, I can still hear her saying to this day, Laura, you should be ashamed of yourself. And I said, oh, I am. And literally every time I see Jesse James, I think he says that to me every time. You were the perfect Laura to say those words. That was one of my favorites.
Great Laura.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I always enjoyed that very first scene coming around the dugout in the covered wagon, and just the excitement that built as you were starting that very first scene. And it was just in the music, was kind of exhilarating and getting going. And yeah, I remember the horses taking off on us one time a little faster than they should have. And Heather and I dang near went down in the back of that one time. But the other thing I really liked was when we did all the rehearsing and the bloopers that happened. Nobody talks about the bloopers.
They don't have cameras like they used to. Can you imagine? That would be hilarious. There were some good ones.
Yeah. You'd lose your microphone box and it would be dragging behind you. And then, those things. Yeah. Somebody made us belts that had the little pockets that we wore underneath our dresses.
I literally hand sewed those because we didn't have them. So I went home. That's a funny story because if I could show you today what those actually looked like hand sewn, by what, a 14-year-old, 15-year-old, whatever I was at that time. But I hand sewed Nikki's little compartment for her personal mic. So it came with a little box that we had to wear on our waist. And so I made us both. I had hand sewed them. That was a big deal for me, clearly, or I wouldn't make a big deal of it now. But I remember that.
Well, good. Well, ladies, I'm going to have you, or not, you won't hear it, but the people out there will hear a little bit of interview from Jessica Borboom, whose last name is now.
When you were a wee little lass here in Walnut Grove until today, tell us a little bit about what's gone on in your life, if you could do that.
Oh, okay. Well, I went to high school in Tracy and graduated and then got a bachelor's degree from the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse in exercise and sports science and fitness. And I worked as a health educator for Health Partners Research Foundation for about 6 years. And then during that time, decided to go back to school and I got a bachelor's in nursing. So, yeah. And then during that time, I met my husband. We got married while I was in nursing school. And my husband is a principal at a middle school. And so we have a 10-year-old girl. Her name is Addison, and then an 8-year-old boy, and his name is Colton. And we have a almost 3-year-old poodle pointer whose name is Tucker. My husband and I have done many trips in the Boundary Waters. Yes, so we take our children and the dog to Voyager National Park, and we've done that for the last 4 years. And we're planning a trip this summer as well. For a week. You know, I have memories of my sister Sarah braiding, you know, doing the 2 French braids. And gosh, I know a lot of the memories are from like behind the scenes of like what we got to do while you're waiting to go on, especially when I was little, like when I first started out. Yep. That was my favorite part, like coming in on the wagon, you know, hopping out, looking at the dugout, asking Pop, we were going to live in the hole in the ground like rabbits. Yeah, it's that little tidbit of information where if people ask me, like, where did you grow up? And it's fun because a lot of people are like, oh, I know Walnut Grove. And a lot of it's because of the TV show. But then there's also, you know, I have coworkers and friends that visited Walnut Grove, saw the pageant. You know, they talk about going to DeSmet, South Dakota, and, you know, fun things like that. So it is. It's like they actually know about Walnut Grove, or, you know, it's kind of fun to share. Like, yeah, Plum Creek was like just a mile from my house where I grew up. And I can't remember who was with me, but I just remember that the one night, like the wagon actually caught on fire, and we had to put it out with thank God the burlap sacks, you know, they're wet. That was a little scary. I think as I'm, you know, the older I am, you can reflect back at all of the time and energy and effort that that goes into putting on that kind of production. Thankful that it's still happening and it's still going. And, you know, I could bring my kids have seen it. They loved it. Yeah. Interesting question. I think I did like one play in high school, my freshman year, and that was about it for acting. But I will say, like, I was a pretty shy kid, and it brought me out of my shell. And I feel like public speaking, and, you know, I don't get nervous getting up in a big crowd or, you know, that type of thing. So I think that really helped.
Okay, let's start with Shalayna.
Well, I am a teacher. My husband and I left the area for, I taught in South Dakota for 5 years, but there really is no place like home. And so we had the desire to move back, and we live right along Plum Creek still today, like I got to grow up. And being in the pageant as a kid, as a farm kid, for me, it was the way to see all my friends in the summer. Just about all of my girlfriends from school were all in the pageant too. And we were pretty much all farm kids, and we would see each other. And, you know, I loved the year that I played Mary, but truly it really didn't matter to me what you got, because if you didn't have one of those top roles, you just got to have all the more fun behind the scenes. And I remember we would bring blankets and spread them out, and we'd have, you'd have a lunchbox full of snacks to share with friends. And I mean, we would just play cards, and yeah, we would get yelled at a little bit for being too loud. But we just had so much fun. Even behind the scenes was something that I remember about being in the pageant so well.
All right, wonderful. Let's go to Lachelle. Lachelle, let's hear what good things you have to say. And we have a picture up again of you, and you played lots of parts, and your dad played lots of parts. And so give us a few words. That'd be excellent to hear.
Hello. So yeah, this is so much fun hearing everybody's stories this evening. It's so funny because I live about a half an hour from Madison. I'm out in Johnson Creek, and I was a cobber 1 year at Concordia, and I lived in Alaska for a year. So this is fun to hear. It's a small world. So some of my memories are just the transition from going from the school outside out to the field, and watching how some of the sets came together the first couple of years, and the hydraulics. And we were so impressed by how everybody local, and there was so much engineering going on. But otherwise, I think I agree with all you guys. Being back behind the stage and being with your friends in the summer, and the hanging out, and was the fun part of it. And for me also, I had my whole family was involved. My mom was sewing costumes for everybody, and my brother was helping with the sets. My dad was involved in the play. And so it was a family event, and all my friends were there. So that was fun.
Yeah. Amy, let's hear from you a little bit. Now, you have to make a pitch for the museum, by the way, because it's behind you. And so I expect that.
It definitely is. Yes, I have the whole gift store behind me here. As I said, I'm the executive director here at the museum. I've been here almost 22 years in April. I started when I was 4. And so, yeah, it takes some time. I love being in the pageant. I was in it for, I was married 3 years, so that was fun. I had Heather as my little sister, so that was always fun. I think my favorite scene, though, is, Nicole mentioned, is coming around the bend with the music and the lights, and it's the first time you get to see the whole crowd out there, and when that hillside is full, it was so easy to act and so much fun to see all those people. And then my favorite part, I think, too, was when the Laura and Mary and Carrie would lay down on their blanket. We'd say our prayers, and it was just like, oh my God, we're here, we're going. There's no stopping now, guys, let's go. It was always so much fun, and you got new families every year. I had Debbie as Ma, I had Mrs. V as Ma.
Yeah.
And then I had Jesse James as Pa, and then I had Lee Shung as Pa. So even those 3 years, I had different family members. So it was a lot of fun. And my daughter was in it for 7 years when she was in elementary, high school. So that was fun.
That's good. That's good. So again, iconic lines that come to you, or scenes that you especially liked, or what would you like to see that we haven't done yet? And let's start with Shalayna, the teacher.
Okay, well, when I was married, they went through all kinds of changes that year. I think they were just going to try out all sorts of different things. For one thing, I was only married in the second half, which I was excited about because that was the fire scenes and the Blind Mary. I felt like I had all the best ones, and the creek scene. I just didn't get to ride in a wagon was all I missed out on, I felt like. But the other thing that we had was, I think I am the only year where we had a scene where there was like the inside of the house. And when I had scarlet fever, they pretended to cut my hair. I think that was the only year we did it that way. And so yeah, she'd have this hair that she would like drop as she was cutting my hair. And then a line from that went, the last thing Mary saw was the blue of baby Grace's eyes. And then Grace sat on my lap and I had to look into her eyes. And so there was, and then there was a train scene where we sat in some sort of a set and we had to sit and bounce like we were riding in a train. That was a different one too that year that we had. So I think, and maybe if I'm right, it was the first year that old Laura told the story instead of it being told by Ma. I think that was all in 92, if I'm right. So there was a lot of things about that year that were really different for my role.
Okay, all right. Amy, what do you want to tell us? Anything specific?
I like that idea about like the Ingalls family Christmas. I think that could be really cute with, you know, Ma getting the stove and the exchange of the gifts from the book and stuff. I think that'd be very true. So that would be really neat to see.
Any particular thing you want to sell us tonight from the gift store?
Oh, I've got everything you need. Bonnets, books, t-shirts, sweatshirts. Give me a call and I'll help you out.
Well, that's wonderful. You have some new exhibits. We showed them a little bit of the 45th anniversary thing as well. And you've got another one coming up. We're not going to show it to them because we want them to come and see it on Garth Williams. Is that correct?
Yes, we have a whole new room. That's the Garth Williams display. Original pencil drawings from him that are autographed. So they're a huge find. And then a lot of information about him and Sewell and Boyle that did the first editions of Laura's books.
Sure.
And then Masters will be open again across the street with a new exhibit. And then the Lumberyard will also be open. So a lot of changes this year, which is really fun.
All right, good. Well, Lachelle, anything you want to share that you can remember that, I mean, I do remember your dad being the fireman. Man, that was something.
I do. Yes. The line when talking about lines, it was Pet Patty, be good, and mind Mr. Hanson. He's going to take good care of you. When they sold the horses at the beginning of it, I always remember that line. And then I think the Bible verses at the Sunday school were always a favorite. So I still remember them, the ones that were said. So
Tell about Michael Land and meeting him.
Oh, so I don't have a lot of memory of how we ended up. We were up in the Twin Cities, and somehow Little House on the Prairie was switching networks, going from whatever ABC to whatever one. And so they were doing a big production up there, and there must have been some other shows switching. And so the cast of Little House on the Prairie from the pageant got to go up there and join in the celebration of it and then be on live TV. And so we got to get on stage with Michael Jackson, Michael Landon, and we presented him. At the time, there was Plum Creek cheese. I don't know if there is anymore. And we presented him with some trinkets from Walnut Grove. And he thanked us. But then we all got to hang out backstage with all these actors and actresses. So
very cool.
What a perk. Hey,
it was. And then just back in the day with Karen Grassel coming to town and Melissa Sue Gilbert and those guys. And I remember them staying out at Sally Nelson's house and signing their ceiling. And so I don't know if that wallpaper is still up in that house, but it had all their signatures on there. Because I think it was Melissa Sue Gilbert stayed overnight at their house.
Yeah. Okay.
And they signed the ceiling.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna let you ladies join everybody else, and I'm gonna shift over and remind people that they can go on using our scan code and go on SurveyMonkey if they want to talk about or give us some thoughts about the show, or if they go over to our YouTube channel and look at a couple of new scenes that we have that may or may not be something we want to be in the pageant with. But we're going to look at the kitchen. This is an old exhibit, but if you're a Norwegian and you live in this country, you would have known that that's an icebox, and it's not a television for Norwegians like me. But this is part of one of the exhibits that they've got, and this has been there for a while, but it's kind of how it was in the old days, and the things I suspect that some of the younger kids, when they come, won't know what some of those utensils are. And I know that what they are, but I never used them. So back to the scan code, we have information that is there, a little bit about some of the things in the show. And you can use that, or you can also go with our Facebook link as well. Well, we have all the ladies back on the set here. And if anybody else has come up with any other thoughts that they wanted to throw out, any ideas for us or any questions? I see Christine's got a hand up there.
I had a quick moment that I remembered thinking about the museum and the schoolhouse, and I just remember during the day before we were, going to perform, I was hanging out in Walnut Grove, enjoying the festivities, and then I would go to the museum grounds and go in the schoolhouse and perform the entire schoolhouse scene for all the museum goers who were coming. I was like obsessed with that scene, I guess. I just randomly had that memory. So I just wanted to say that.
Well, good. Anybody else have other memories they want to share? Oh, I see Hannah's got a hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to share a memory I had. In 2006, I think I played Jenny. It was the Make-A-Wish Foundation performance. Someone wanted, that was what they chose for their Make-A-Wish. And the person that played Mary just didn't show up. And, this is their, literally dying wish. So they asked me to fill in as Mary. I had to learn her lines scene before scene at the actual performance. No time to look at it, no time to practice, having been blind. It was very difficult, but it was definitely a really fun acting experience. And then I also just wanted to thank the pageant for all the great, the friendships that I've gotten. I met Christina through pageant a long time ago. And I ended up actually being her maid of honor. So pageant brought us together. I never would have met her otherwise.
Somebody else has something, just jump in or wave your hands like this.
So a big thing about the pageant was it was a completely family thing. You had the adults that watched the kids. And
kind of.
It was, as well as we could. And then everyone's family was involved in some way. So my sister and I, we both played in the pageant. My mom did hair and my dad did photography and all sorts of other stuff. And now my parents are still well involved, and my sister takes minutes or whatever you want to call it for the meetings and such. And my whole family was in it for a few years, my husband and myself and my 2 boys. And that's just kind of how the pageant was. We were just a big family. And as a young child, I was very much Laura. That I was her. I was very energetic. I was very tomboy. I loved my sister's best friend was Shalayna. And so I loved to pick on them and do all the things that I believe Laura would have done. And I loved animals. I loved dogs. I loved the horses. There was one thing I hated. I hated the parades. And my dad would tell you about this. The wagon we used in the parade was my grandpa's. But we had to stop in front of every judge's station. And we went to it was at least 1 parade a weekend, but sometimes 2. And then you had to do the dance again. And everyone loved the dance except for me, because I didn't want to dance. But it was a lot of fun, and it made me who I am today. I'm not afraid to talk in front of anyone, and it was a lot of fun.
So that was I remember the train, by the way. That just didn't work very well. It just didn't. This just didn't do it. It just wasn't enough. Maybe we'll have to get a bigger train. Then I think we'd be okay. So, anybody else have stories that they want to throw at us?
I do have one scene I would love to share, and I never get to share it. And nobody ever cares, so nobody ever knows. So I'm going to share it now. I remember when I was playing Laura, or Mary, I'm sorry. First of all, I'm sure every single one of you can remember when that song would play with the fiddle at the beginning. I can't imitate it very well.
That was exactly right.
I still almost pee my pants if I ever hear it, because I'm like, oh my God, run. Like, I can't decide if I'm excited or if I'm nervous or what's happening, but that music still absolutely gets me every time.
Oh, good.
But I've been an athletic person most of my life, and there was this moment where a different piece of me peeked out, and it was because of Mary, and it was in that scene, and I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, you guys can imagine when we practiced, it was one scene at a time with 7 people at a time, you know? So you were like, yeah, I'm rocking this. And then all of a sudden you're doing it in front of like 300 people. It's a completely different thing. And I think the way that the lights shine down on us, we didn't have curtains. It was lights shining in our face. So honestly, I hardly ever saw a person's face when you performed. And I remember it was one of my favorite moments in life, and I'll cry. That's how special it is. Sorry. I remember at the end of the Blind Mary scene, the lights went up, and then what they did was they would shine the lights out on the audience so that they couldn't see us moving around. So we could kind of catch a glimpse of what they were doing, so they couldn't see what we were doing. And at the end of the Blind Mary scene, I saw people crying. Like I had thought for a second, oh my gosh, people actually thought about this? Like, it was so cute for a minute when I was practicing the scenes. And then all of a sudden it was super real to me when I looked out and I saw so many people really, really had hooked in. And then I also remember, and I don't know if you guys remember this either, but I remember once people would actually ask us for our autographs at the end of a show. And I remember once this little girl was like avoiding me. And finally her mom pushed her up and said, ask Mary for her autograph. And she said, I can't, Mom. She's blind. And it's just one of those cute little, I don't know, it's a cute little moment in those days where I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like, that was one of my favorites.
Good. Well, we're up on a little bit after 8 o'clock, and so I'm going to thank you one and all, and I'm going to put up a slide for people who are watching us that reminds them that this is the 45th reunion on the 9th of July, and that if they're a member of the cast or crew from any time, if they buy a ticket, they can get a free t-shirt and a free meal backstage. Maybe we'll have some other things going on, which we'll let you know, and both in Facebook and on our YouTube and other places as well. I would think, and maybe we should take a look. We're going to go to the camera so you can see. We've got Lori over here working really hard, and so we want to make sure that she gets the. Unfortunately, I'm in the picture too, but anyway, so there's Lori. She's waving. She's been guiding me, and that is wonderful. We'll go back to this. That was enough. Yeah, you don't want to overdo that. I mean, the glare from my head is enough to cause a problem just like it is. So in any case, we're going to say good night to one and all, and hope that all of you have a good evening and good memories, and that you can share your enthusiasm and the wonderful things that you've done with other people, and we appreciate that very much. So you guys, if you want, you can. I'm going to cut the sound out. You can keep chattering away as long as you wish, and I'm going to hopefully make the next thing will be slides from the last 40 years, so you can go and look at them, or we can get them to you later. And with that, I will say thank you. And also, Aaron, although you're in the dark there somewhere, thank you for clicking buttons and making things work. Good. We're off the air. I'm still recording you because you're very interesting. But
my mom just texted me and reminded me of something. And I think all of us did this. When the grasshopper scene came out, you guys were talking about the oyster crackers before. Who of us caught the oyster crackers and like nibbled on them in the dugout?
Oh yeah,
like
for certain. You brought them back into the dugout with you, and you're like,
Thank you to the Minnesota State Arts Board, the Southwest Minnesota Arts Council, the Rummick Foundation, the Walnut Grove Area Foundation, and many of you for your financial support and encouragement. Check out the new updated mobile website at walnutgrove.org for tickets, events, updates, and gift items. You can also check out our Facebook page and YouTube channel for updates on several efforts we've begun to update and expand the story of Laura Ingalls. Use your phone on the QR code to get to a survey to tell us how we're doing. The YouTube channel has 3 short scenes read by cast members for your reactions. With summer approaching, tryouts for the summer production of Fragments of a Dream will begin either online on March 20th or also in person on April 1st and 2nd. It's important to take a moment to remember author James Merchant, who wrote the original 1978 script for the Fragments of a Dream production. Many have taken his words and made them into inspiration and entertainment for over 300,000 people worldwide. And all former cast and crew are invited to our 45th anniversary celebration on Saturday, July 9th. Check out walnutgrove.org or the Facebook page for your free t-shirt and meal with purchase of a ticket for the show.